5 Hellenistic cities. My son, ask for thyself another kingdom, for that which I leave is too small for thee. That was Philip II of Macedonia. Welcome to the video. This one is about 5 of the most prominent cities of the Hellenistic age. Alexander III was born 356 BC in Greece and was king of Macedonia from 336 up until his death in 323 BC. In his lifetime, he overthrew the Persian Empire and laid the foundations for the Hellenistic world. In short, he became a legend among mortal men and was immortalized for all of history. Just like that one Maiden song says, the word Hellenistic simply means characteristic of or relating to Greek civilization in the Mediterranean world, especially from the death of Alexander the Great to the defeat of Antony and Cleopatra several decades later. There you go. I'm pretty sure it can be considered decades later. I was pondering that, but it was a long time. In this particular article, we are only discussing the most prominent cities that were founded during Alexander's rule in particular. I also briefly dig into what happens to some of the cities after the fall of Alexander's Macedonia. The Hellenistic cities were one of the most visible legacies of his legendary conquest. What I found cool is the fact that these ancient cities were all planned and well designed. Unlike that of most cities in the time period, these cities were inspired by the classical Greek cities, so that all of the towns had a similar plan and the same set of public buildings. There was a city council, walkways with series of columns arranged at regular intervals, which surrounded a public square, which contained temples, theaters, libraries, and gymnasia. As you would expect from any Grecian city, the streets and squares were filled with monuments, statues, and inscriptions celebrating the achievements of wealthy patrons, rulers, and prominent city members. A city of culture, trade, and politics. These cities helped in creating and spreading the unified Hellenistic culture, which left a lasting mark on a vast area stretching from the eastern Mediterranean all the way to the Himalayas. Alexander the Great conquered all the Greek city-states, the Persian Empire, and founded more than 70 cities, creating an empire that stretched across 3 continents and covered about 2 million square miles. Alexander's massive empire collapsed soon after the young ruler's death, yet the Hellenistic world outlived Alexander, becoming his lasting legacy. Their importance was so great that once the Roman Empire took this area, the Hellenistic cities retained their importance and rights under the new regime, which actually surprises me because the Romans like to totally demolish entire civilizations and then completely erase all trace of their collected history. That's based on what I was led to believe, but I guess that wasn't always the case. Now, on to some of the cities. These are only the most prominent Hellenistic cities, as there are many others. First, we have the city of Alexandria. I think it's safe to say that Alexandria was a legend in and of itself. The city was located on the shores of the Mediterranean, in the Nile Delta. Alexandria was the greatest of all Hellenistic cities, founded by Alexander the Great in 331 BC. Alexandria became the capital of the powerful Ptolemaic Empire, or kingdom. By the 2nd century, Alexandria grew into a cosmopolitan metropolis of 300,000 people. Its famed library attracted scholars, philosophers, scientists, and artists from all over the world, turning the city into a cultural and intellectual powerhouse. In addition, Alexandria was renowned for its magnificent buildings, including the lavish tomb of its founder, the royal palace, the giant causeway, the Heptastadion. It was basically a long bridge connecting islands to the mainland. And most importantly, the majestic lighthouse of Alexandria. Even after the Roman annexation in 330 BC, the city retained its importance, second only to Rome, of course. Next we have Antioch, known as the Jewel of the East. Soon after Alexander the Great's death, his vast empire fell apart. One of Alexander's successors, Seleucus I, founded a new city at the bank of the Orontes River in the fertile valley near the Mediterranean Sea. Soon, Antioch would become the western capital of the vast Seleucid Empire. Antioch's wealth originated from its strategic location at the west terminus of the Silk Road, which of course was a major trade route linking distant China with the eastern Mediterranean. Like Alexandria, Antioch was a cosmopolitan metropolis, attracting people from all corners of the world. It was also a city noted for its luxurious living, reflected in the magnificent mosaics and remains of the opulent villas. The fashionable suburb of Daphne, built halfway between the city and its port. These parks became a favorite retreat for the wealthy and powerful across the city. The Daphne parks hosted the great temple of Apollo, which happens to be one of the major centers for pilgrimage. There is also Seleucia, which was known as the heart of the empire. Another foundation of Seleucus I, Seleucia was one of the largest Hellenistic cities. At its height, during the 2nd century, the city and its immediate surroundings supported over 500,000 people. The Seleucid Empire was the largest of all Hellenistic kingdoms, stretching at its height from Asia Minor and the eastern Mediterranean coast all the way to India. Right amid the vast territory was Mesopotamia, and in its center, on the banks of the Tigris, was Seleucia, which was much bigger than Alexandria at its peak. The city was also an important center of trade, culture, and government. The great city on the Tigris benefited from its optimal location in the middle of the Silk Road. However, following the collapse of the Seleucid Empire, Seleucia's role decreased. Eventually, this city became the capital of the Parthian Empire, which was also known as the Aracid Empire, or something like that. It was a major Iranian power who rose to prominence around 247 BC in Ephesus. It was the gem of Asia Minor. Unlike the Hellenistic cities founded by the heirs of Alexander, we can trace the history of Ephesus and Pergamon back to the classical Greek period. After all, Ephesus was home to the great temple of Artemis, which was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. During the Hellenistic period, the city had to be moved 2 kilometers inland to its present-day location due to silting of the old port and the emergence of unhealthy marshland. Most of its famous monumental architecture, however, comes from the Roman period, when Ephesus became one of the most important cities in that empire. Pergamon, the Hellenistic city that replaced Athens for the first time, mentioned by Xenophon as one of the locations in the March of 10,000. Pergamon rose to prominence as the capital of the Attalid dynasty. The Attalids wanted to create a second Athens, a cultural and intellectual hub of the ancient Hellenistic world. The Acropolis of Athens inspired Pergamon's Acropolis, and the Library of Pergamon was second only to the Library of Alexandria. Pergamon continued to be an important center of the Asia Minor during the Roman period, especially under Philhellene, Emperor Hadrian, who comprised an ambitious building program, massive temples, a stadium, a huge forum, a theater, and an amphitheater. Hellenistic culture represents a fusion of the ancient Greek culture with that of West Asia, Northeast African, and Southeast Asian cultures. Southwest Asian cultures, sorry about that. In his lifetime, Alexander reunited his father's empire and expanded it, founding over 20 cities that bore his name. Personally, I have always been interested in both Greek and Roman history, so I hope you enjoyed this video. But really quick, I did want to clarify, I kind of messed up a little bit when I said that I was covering just cities that were founded during Alexander's life, because I Wasn't thinking about Seleucia when I said that. But anyway, that was the video. Please let me know what you think, and I would greatly appreciate any feedback if you have it. Thanks for checking out the video, and my sources are going to be at the description and stuff. Bye.